Nights on the I-20 flatten time. The road hums one endless note, trucks roaring past like waves with headlights that never blink. That's my soundtrack while I mop tile and refill paper towels at Rest Stop 16, 4 miles west of Sweetwater. Most shifts nothing happens, just wind, crickets, and diesel ghosts thin as breath. Name's Eli Carver, night custodian, state subcontractor, wages paid bi-weekly if the printer works. My boss jokes that nobody keeps this job longer than 6 months because the solitude will start talking back. I told her I like quiet. It listens better than people. The only strange thing is how the bathroom fixtures groan even when no one's inside, pipes complaining like they've got memories. Last night, one of them tried to tell me something. I thought the rush of water spelled my name. I told myself the acoustics were bad. Out here, the desert throws voices farther than you'd think, especially when they're already buried below it. By midnight, the heat finally quits pretending to leave. Out here, the asphalt keeps it banked like coal, releasing it in slow, invisible waves. The parking lot buzzes with crickets and refrigeration units from the vending machines that always sound one breath behind each other. If you lie down and close your eyes, you could mistake all that hum for surf. Truckers drift in waves too. The regulars call me kid, even though I'm pushing 34. One of them, Earl with the pet armadillo, leans on his horn every time he pulls off, claiming he's alerting the ghosts. He swears each Texas rest stop is built on a section of old road they never quite buried. Says the highway department just poured new concrete over what was already there, accidents included. "Don't sing in the men's room," he told me my first night. "Echo comes back with different words." When they talk like that, you laugh because it's cheaper than therapy, but I still catch myself listening. The wind whistles through the bathroom vents even when the door stays shut. Sometimes it sounds almost wet, like breath forced through teeth. Every break, I walk outside, stare down the east-west stretch until the horizon curls. That flat expanse does something to your head. It's a mirror without glass. Everything repeats. The stars, the road, the chorus of cicadas. So when a trucker radio crackled across channels just before 1 a.m., whispering something that wasn't a human word but ended with flush, I wasn't surprised. The desert has its own grammar. The trick is pretending you don't understand it. There's a corkboard nailed above the time clock that might be older than the building itself. Most stops have an OSHA sheet and an evacuation plan. Ours has a wrinkled printout titled Night Guidelines. Someone, years back, rewrote half the sentences in Sharpie, turning it into gospel. Sharon, the supervisor who trained me, called them the rules of the stop. 1. Keep one stall locked even when the others are clean. Don't open it. 2. If the air drops below 70 and the fans cut off, lock both doors. 3. Never hum. Sound travels down the pipes. 4. If someone knocks from under the sink, leave. 5. Always say good night before you turn the lights out. She'd laughed when I asked for the rest. Those are the only ones that matter. Every employee initials the list, date of last shift written beside. Some signatures go back 50 years. Different ink, identical handwriting, thin and tall like it was traced. Beside each name is a lukewarm brown stain that might be coffee if you believed in coincidence. On paper, they're folklore to entertain the truckers. Still, you feel something mechanical behind them, like they were written by a state engineer trying to describe a sound he could not file in a report. Sharon said the guys who built Stop 16 found half a storm drain below grade and sealed it with concrete. Water'll find its own road, she added. Sometimes voices ride it. Every week, one name gets marked off as transfer. Nobody knows to where. I used to think I'd be the first who stayed long enough to fill the last line. Now I just keep my mouth shut and listen to the tiles breathe while I mop. It started around 1:30, slow enough to pass for plumbing. I was scrubbing the last mirror, humming without thinking, something low and tuneless, more rhythm than melody. Tile carries sound forever in those bathrooms. It bounced between walls until I couldn't tell which direction echo came from. Then the echo changed. It didn't match my pitch, it took over. The next measure was cleaner, steadier, humming with me instead of after me. I froze, mop halfway through a circle of water. For a breath, I waited to hear footsteps or a stall door creak, but the building stood still. Air vents pushed their same mechanical sigh, and from the sink drain came the second verse. A strip of fluorescent light blinked overhead. I leaned closer, phone light cutting through the steel basin. No water ran, but condensation threaded upward like breath on glass. The humming had stopped. In its place, a whisper dragged up the pipes, the single word, Eli. The sound moved wrong, heavier than air, as if it came from the drain itself instead of through it. I wanted to say something back, anything logical, but all that escaped was a nervous laugh. The basin answered with another, same rhythm, half a tone lower. Every faucet handle twitched in time, squealing faintly. The mirror behind the sinks glazed with condensation, letters taking shape from right to left, R-U-N? Then the buzzers kicked back on, dryers roaring until the letters melted. When the noise cut, the bathroom was empty again, except for the mop still dripping into the word my soles had smeared into the water, run. The next evening I pretended nothing had happened. That's the only way people survive night work. You file the strange stuff under plumbing and get on with it. But when Sharon swung by before her shift ended, I asked, casual, as if the question had just rolled off my mop handle. Ever notice the vents carry sound funny? I said, like they've got their own echo. Her whole posture changed. The keys in her hand stopped jingling. Which vent? The one over the men's sinks. She exhaled slow through her nose. Well, that's the old line. She told me every rest stop in this stretch of Texas sat on highway remains the state never admitted to ripping out. Half-finished tunnels, capped storm drains, culverts that lead nowhere. Water projects from the 70s, she said, got flooded one spring. Some of the workers didn't come out. They just poured concrete over the holes and built bathrooms on top, cheaper than digging for bodies. She tried smiling after that, but it didn't reach her eyes. Before midnight, she handed me the janitor ring, told me to mind the clock-out sheet, and drove off early. When her taillights disappeared, I noticed she'd left her nameplate face down on the desk. The back of the brass laminate was etched with something scratched by hand. 1 voice is fine. 2 means it found you. After she left, the silence thickened. Even the crickets outside gave up. I worked through the checklist, trying to fill the place with ordinary noise, vacuum whine, faucet gush, the thud of the mop bucket against tile. It helped until about 2:17, when a hollow percussion started beneath me. 3 short knocks, 1 long. Pause. Again. It took a second for my brain to label it, Morse code. H-E-L-P. Funny, I said aloud, half hoping the sound would stop if it heard me. Instead, the pattern repeated, faster, knocking so hard the paper towel dispenser rattled. I pulled my phone, filmed a 10-second clip, hoping it would make sense later. On playback, the knocks came with a chorus behind them, muffled syllables, my name stretched out like water poured over gravel. When the knocks ended, another voice joined, dull, metallic, steady, reading the line from the corkboard rules. Never reply to voices that call from the drains. Dust rained from the ceiling vent, drifting through steady air. I backed toward the door, trying not to run. The handle felt clammy. When I twisted it, it resisted once, then turned on its own and swung the door inward. The lights dimmed for half a heartbeat, enough to see darker shapes moving under the floor tiles, shadow smears that kept time with the knocks. The air conditioner groaned on. Every sink spat 1 quick spray of brown water, and the smell of wet concrete filled the room. Over the sound, the pipes made new noise. No words this time, just a slow, drawn-out imitation of breathing, mine. I counted the rhythm. Inhale, exhale, pause. When I tried to hold my breath, the sound below kept going for me. The rest of the shift, I stayed planted at the front desk, eyes glued to the security monitor that barely worked. The feed fuzzed with white snow every few seconds, but even through the blur I could see, every time the camera cycled back to the bathroom hallway, a light inside flickered. 1, 2, 3, 1 long. The same help pattern. By dawn, the floor looked dry again, as though nothing had ever happened. I told myself fatigue was to blame, but rest stops don't pay benefits for honesty. Instead, I opened the maintenance drawer and dug out the binder of building permits. At the very back was a folded packet of typewritten memos yellow with age. State of Texas Transportation Division, 1971. Words bled where water had soaked through. Storm tunnel collapse, 5 workers unaccounted. Site reclassified as Rest Area Project 16. Do not excavate. Seal intact lines with cement reinforce. Re-occupational hazard reports. Classification changed to noise complaint. Across the bottom, someone had scribbled in pencil. Told them it talks. They poured and left. When I rolled the cabinet back into place, a red review light blinked on my phone. New notification from maintenance feedback. I clicked it open and saw a 5-year-old photo of the men's room. Under it, rating, 1 star only. Comment listed the remainder of my shift schedule accurately to the minute. Username read reststop16 bath. I deleted the message. It came back. Deleted again. Came back. Third time the screen froze and the comment rewrote itself saying, Eli, service pending response. Sometime after 2 a.m., a horn shattered the quiet. I stepped outside to find a semi angled sideways across both lanes of the parking lot, its engine coughing like it couldn't decide whether to stall or run. A man in a grease-stiff ball cap climbed down, breathing hard enough to steam the air. Gate's gone, he said. GPS went blank out there. Something's wrong under the asphalt. Felt like the road itself shifted. I pointed toward the restroom block. Phones are out. You can use the landline inside. He didn't move. I'm not going in there again. That phrasing froze me. Again? He stared at the concrete under his boots. Voices in the pipes. Calling plate numbers. One of them said mine. Recited the model like a dispatch tape. Then it listed a date. June 12th, 71. Truck identical to mine went off an overpass that night. Found 2 drivers in the cab. Both dead. He paused. Names filed incorrectly, the story goes. We watched condensation crawl across his windshield until the fog thickened enough to blind the lot's lamps. When I finally turned toward the bathroom, a sound like boots on tile echoed from within. Squelching, heavy, unhurried. I pulled the door open an inch. Empty. Yet a line of wet prints led from the threshold straight to the maintenance hatch under the sinks. They stopped there. No exit marks. Water trickled down grout like sweat. The trucker backed away fast, muttering something about finding another stop. I didn't blame him. When his taillights disappeared into the mist, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, the stall door slowly swinging shut by itself. The metal latch clicked once. From the air vent above the Miro came a rasp, almost gentle, almost amused. It whispered my license plate number, every digit perfect. The building's circuitry gave up at 2:46 on the dot. Fluorescence blinked once, exhaled a gout of ozone, then darkness pinned everything flat. Emergency bulbs kicked in a second later, greenish aquarium light that made grout lines shimmer like veins. The air conditioner's roar faded, replaced by a low drone from the plumbing that sounded suspiciously like whispering through cupped hands. I stepped toward the breaker closet, phone flashlight jittering across the tiles. The first word I heard come clear was my own. It oozed from every drain, every pipe seam, hundreds of breaths overlapping, matching my cadence. Eli, Eli, Eli Carver. I threw the breaker. No change. The murmur just synchronized with the clicks, hundreds of soft tongues copying every motion I made. Who are you? I snapped, because humans argue even when terrified. That was the mistake. The sound gathered itself, a chorus stretching the word who until it became wind. Then every sink exploded in rhythm, cold spritzes that drenched my uniform. The spray matted my hair flat and kept repeating my question, who, until the bathroom felt like I'd stepped inside a flock of invisible birds. I clapped my hands over my ears, stumbled to the door, but even outside the stall line, the chorus continued. echoing from the asphalt drains, the vending machines, the ditch culvert 40 yards away. Each echoed phrase sneaked new words in. It was finishing my sentences before I thought them. Then, silence. For 5 seconds, I thought it was done. I took one breath, too loud, and the sound exhaled it back to me. Perfect pitch, perfect timing. That's when I realized it wasn't speaking from the rest stop anymore. It was speaking as it, and I was already part of the voice it used. Running didn't help. The sound followed like air itself. I ended up back inside, drawn by the one mistake everyone makes in ghost stories: curiosity disguised as duty. Water filled half the mop closet before I even noticed it, rising out of the floor grate instead of draining down. Something moved beneath, slow and deliberate, bumping the metal screen from below. The whisper came again, softer now, coaxing. Rule 3. It paused as if waiting for me to join in. You're humming again. The ceiling flexed. Each fluorescent tube bent downward, glowing a single color of sickly blue. And in their shimmer, I saw shapes under the surface, faces pressed against metal, eyes open, mouths moving in bubbles. They weren't screaming. They were exhaling, forcing air up through the pipes. I could almost see syllables leaving their lips before the water swallowed them. I took the crowbar from the supply bucket and pried at the hatch bolts. The third one snapped, old steel shearing with a cry like a whistle. The hole beneath breathed out heat so damp it fogged the lenses of my glasses. My flashlight dropped through, tumbling end over end until it landed hard but stayed lit. What it showed didn't make sense. A corridor, narrow, concrete, stretching deeper than any drain ought to run. Toilet bowls jutted from the walls every few feet like fossils of a vanished machine. Porcelain stained black where water had once climbed instead of fallen. In the glow, I recognized one reflection peering from the water inside the nearest bowl. My own, watching, mouth lifting in a grin I wasn't wearing. Something under me thrummed, pressure reversing. The mop water in the closet sloshed upward, rising in ropes of liquid that hung like muscle fibers. From below, a handprint struck the metal rim right where my knee pressed. Temperature dropped to freezing. The world compressed to one long breath. I could still hear the rules looping from every drain, half hymn, half warning. Leave a stall locked, don't answer back, never look under. Then the water lunged up and the floor let go. Dawn hit wide and ugly over the westbound lanes, skylight bleaching the horizon a dull brass. By 7, the DPS truck rolled up in answer to an automatic flood alarm. 2 officers stepped out, coffee in hand, expecting a burst pipe. From outside, the building looked perfect. The men's room windows sat clean as mirrors. Inside was another story. A thin sheet of water glistened across both bathroom floors, calm as a pond before wind. No sign of break-in, no forced doors, no Eli Carver. The mop bucket waited upright and full, handle exactly parallel to the drain. One officer reached toward it, froze. Ripples were moving across the surface, slow concentric rings radiating outward, though nothing had touched it. Maybe air pressure, the younger one suggested. Then all 4 of the wall dryers coughed on at once, roaring for half a second before dying again. As the sound faded, a man's voice whispered out of the vent nearest the baseboard, low and conversational. "Who's covering tonight's shift?" Both men backed toward the door automatically. Outside, they joked, badly, about plumbing ghosts, something funny to tell dispatch. Neither noticed their footprints drying instantly behind them, like the tile couldn't stand the smell of daylight. By the time they radioed in the all clear, the mop bucket had gone still again, surface unbroken, except for the faint outline of a palm pressed against the water from underneath. A week later, a hiring notice appeared on the state job portal, Janitor 2, Rest Area 16, overnight. The posting date and removal date were the same day. Somebody still managed to fill the slot. The new badge read E. Carver, issued automatically through payroll software that hadn't processed a single new hire in months. The HR video played at noon in the maintenance trailer. 2 clerks watched absently as a decades-old training film flickered across the screen. Corporate smile, beige walls, narrator too friendly for reality. Welcome to the Texas Department of Transportation. Safety and cleanliness keep our highways proud. Halfway through, the tape hissed, audio warped low and wet. The narrator's voice repeated the security guidelines, but now paired them with another whisper barely behind it. Same script, different tone, mimicking each line half a second late. Rule 1. Keep one stall locked. One stall locked. Rule 2. If you hear voices from the pipes, answer politely so they know you're on duty. The projector overheated, shutting itself down. When the lights blinked back on, the employees noticed the outbound time clock sheet already had a fresh signature at the bottom in neat block letters. E. Carver, start 7 p.m. and unknown. No one remembered seeing anyone come through orientation. Cleaning supplies still rested in the janitor closet of Stop 16, arranged exactly as eliminated employees had always left them. When the automatic lights tested at 6:59 p.m., the camera feed briefly captured a figure in uniform checking the mirrors. He looked like every previous hire ever recorded, face blurred to the same pleasant, anonymous smile. Then the feed reset to black. The stories started showing up online 2 months later, tucked between truck stop reviews and local ghost threads. Most were written half as jokes, half as warnings. Travelers described the same oddities: a restroom too clean for a place that never looked open, coin machines that coughed quarters dated 1971, dryers that whispered thank you right after shutting off. One family posted a short video that went viral for a weekend before being removed. A little girl could be heard singing Ring Around the Rosie while washing her hands. Halfway through the line, every faucet opened on its own and joined in, voices rising from the sinks, perfectly synced harmony. The clip ended with the mother shouting and the caption, "We thought it was an echo until the song finished first." Truckers in CB forums traded more practical advice. Keep one stall door locked, never whistle inside, never mention a missing worker named Eli. A user under the handle RoadGhostTX left the final comment before the thread was deleted. Don't flush after 2 a.m., it flushes back. Weeks later, a state maintenance inspector passed through on route audit. He snapped a photo for his report and swore he saw faint writing curling across one stall wall, still wet where cleaning spray hadn't fully dried. Rule 9. If the bathroom talks back, it's too late. He turned off the flash and the words vanished with the light, leaving only his reflection in the mirror. Behind him stood someone in janitor blues, mop in hand, smiling the kind of smile that professionals call service-ready. Most truckers swear there's still an attendant at Rest Stop 16 after dark. Same uniform, flat-brimmed cap, name patch that just says E. Carver. He waves them in, points to the coffee vending machine, never speaks more than a word or two. The men's room always smells faintly of bleach, no matter how long the place has been closed for renovation. The department lists the facility as temporarily unmanned, but the highway cameras say otherwise. At 2 a.m., the lot lights power on one by one, just long enough to catch a figure mopping the concrete. His reflection doubled in the glass doors, though the doors are solid metal. When the feed cycles again, he's gone, and every sink inside is running at a low, steady stream, draining nothing, whispering just above the hum of the air system. Occasionally, motorists report hearing a scrub brush on tile long before they park. A few have tried knocking to thank the janitor for the clean restrooms, but the door swings open on its own, water pooling around their shoes to spell single words that vanish as quick as breath: wait or quiet. Nobody ever sees who turns the lights off afterward. Texas DOT fields weekly calls asking for directions to the hum that comes from under the bathroom floor. They answer with silence. Nothing on the blueprint explains a basement, and ground-penetrating radar lists the foundation as solid limestone. The state just paints over review graffiti and replaces the vending machines. The coins inside are always older than the machines themselves. Truckers say that if you stay long enough, you can hear a man humming along with the dryers when they start up, keeping rhythm with the desert wind. If your route ever drags you past Sweetwater after midnight and the neon sign for Rest Stop 16 starts flickering on its own, keep driving. Never sing, never answer, and don't hum while you wash your hands. The bathrooms remember every voice that tried. They're still waiting to harmonize with yours.